Okay, here we are, continuing forth. It's the second day for me. Next day I had to stop because the library closed. So let's do Nazca, Peru. That's another cool thing. I probably missed a bunch of stuff, but these are the big ones. Nazca, Peru are pretty interesting. I actually took these photos myself. These are the pictures of Nazca from the plane ride. You could pay like 20 bucks or something. Get like a 15-minute plane ride up there and you fly around and you get to see. Now the thing that I was impressed with the most at Nazca were these straight lines that went off really far, because I was in the plane and I looked at them and they were perfectly straight as far as I could see. And you know, it was maybe through the haze about 15 miles from the plane, and it just went off as far as I could see, and it was perfectly straight. And you know, these are from 1,000 years ago or whenever. And this one here, not just the line, but this like landing strip one, went off as far as I could possibly see. One of them that looked like this. They had a lot of these. These were all over the place, just crisscrossing. Different theories, or maybe the Indians did it from dowsing the underwater caverns and stuff. This is the one that I saw go off. And then, you know, like they do crisscross around and converge in like central areas. So maybe they dowse to find a central underwater aqueduct or something like that. But you see how it comes together like that in the middle. So yeah, but then they have the little alien guy. So maybe they were trying to draw a little gray alien that abducted them. You see this little guy down here? The little bulbous head on the side of the hill. And then they have the right angles ones, and yeah, the straight lines that are superimposed over each other, and yeah, there were a lot of those things. I didn't include the pictures of the actual forms though in this page, because people could say, oh, they could have made the forms, but I don't know, they look like forms really well, and you can only see them from the sky, and they're really big. So, and then Cuzco is a really interesting place because, well, it was the capital of the Peruvian Empire, but in this place called Sacsayhuaman, it's got these huge stones. And here's the story, and I actually have the Bible of the Incan Bible on my website here, and they have tales of the gods who, after the sinking of Atlantis, came. That's in the Peruvian Bible. Even named it Atlantis, or Atlanta. Came over there and started the civilization there, and that they're big. And supposedly, if you go to a museum in Cuzco, you can see the headdresses and the armor of the ancient kings, the gods, and it's like 3 feet wide and stuff. That's what Glenn Kimball said. I wish I had known that when I was there. But this is the look from at the central square of Cuzco from Sacsayhuaman. So it's literally right next to the center. Here's the center, and like right next to it is this big hill. And Cuzco is in a valley. It's not that big of a city, but yeah, right next to this hill that you go up, and right behind where I took this photo, you turn around, and that's where Sacsayhuaman is. So it's like a 10-minute bike ride from there. And it's this big valley, or this big like field, maybe the size of a football field. And on the side, towards the edge of the hill, towards where the city is, you know, like if you're here and then you look towards the right, over on the other side of these rocks, you can go over here and see the city. And this is where the big stones are. This wall right here. It's jagged. It's supposed to be like the jaguar's teeth, where those giant stones are. So we'll show you. But first, I guess I'll show you the church inside of Cuzco. These are the stones inside of the church in Cuzco. The Incan church, and the stonework is amazing. You can see how it's perfectly cut granite. It's perfectly straight, like cut like a laser. I think better than what we could even do now. If we cut the stuff now, you're going to see where the blade stops cutting, you know. And then on that other picture in Egypt, you can see how it cut a 90-degree angle, you know, with a smooth. And we can't do that. Even now we can't. We have these big metal-tipped things that can cut through, and then you just have it, you know, crudely cut. But this is like polished cut, like it was literally cut through with a laser. So, but here's the wall of it. And I did see some mortar in between, but it was like really thin, like white colored type of mortar. But they're fit perfectly together, as you can see. It can withstand like earthquakes over and over again. And so what the Spanish did is when they took over, they just built their church on top of the Peruvian church. And it's interesting because you can see the different churches right next to each other. Here on the right is the Peruvian church, so the Spanish would use that as the inside walls of the church. And then here on the left is the Spanish church as the outside wall of the church, so that when you look at it from outside, all you see is the Spanish church. But the Spanish stonework wasn't as good as the Incan stonework, but you could tell that they tried as hard as they could to make it as good, because it's a lot better stonework than the stonework you'll see back in Spain, which is just, you know, stones, like a typical castle, stones cut and thrown on top of each other. But these were actually cut really well and square blocks put together, but it's not on the same level as you can see in this picture, and you can see even better in other pictures. Here's a doorway coming into the Incan church, perfectly placed together, like it's like the Egyptian pyramid. You know, it's pretty clear to me that it's built the same technology. This Cusco church and the Incan pyramid, inside the Incan pyramid and the King's Chamber, is built with the same technology, built by the same people. So here's a good example. This is the Incan church right here, and this is the Spanish church, and they're next to each other. Yeah, Incan church is better. So, oh well, here we are back at Sacsayhuaman. I guess I didn't get around to organizing the photos. I think the reason is because I couldn't actually see the photos when I was using Dreamweaver before. So, but anyways, that's my bicycle. Maybe I should see if it gets bigger, because I took this with a normal camera, so the picture should be pretty big. Yeah, so that's my bicycle that I bought for 110 bucks in Guatemala, and it was Bomber Burley. It was an awesome bike. I sold it for $13 and change to a Campesino. I shouldn't have done that. I should continue bike touring. But anyways, there's my bike, and you can see how big these stones are next to the bike. Like, you know, me standing up would be about that tall. So each one of these stones is, I don't know, 200 tons or something like that. I forget the number, but you can see how, like, this giant stone that you couldn't even take out is fit perfectly, cut and fit, placed perfectly, and you couldn't, or in this one, fit perfectly in this one. And you couldn't perfectly fit these together like this unless you could levitate them, because these are so heavy that you couldn't even, like when the Spanish came, they tried to dismantle this temple, and they could only take 4/5 of it apart. But they just had to leave the rest of it because they couldn't even take it apart. So if you can't even take it apart, how are they going to levitate these into place perfectly cut? You know, they would have to cut it, know how it's cut before they place it. You couldn't place it and then hack away at it and hack inside until it falls into place. This is perfect. These were cut before they were placed, and they somehow knew how to cut it perfectly. And I mean, I don't think we have the technology to make this today. This is too big. We don't have anything. We build skyscrapers of like iron screwed together, but we don't make stuff like this, and we can't. And look at the size of this stone. This stone is like in size bigger, like as big as my car. So in weight, yeah, it's probably like 300 tons or something. So people saying, you know, oh, fuck you, it's the caveman people who made it. It's like, well, let's see somebody try. So here's the streets of Cusco, and you can see there's a good picture comparing. Here, I'm going to open my my page and another page so that we can move around a little bit easier. Should have done this before. So yeah, because on this page here you can see this is a typical street in Cusco. On the right side is the ancient Incan wall, and on the left side is the Spanish wall. And the Spanish is just a lot more, just a second here. The Spanish is a lot more, oh, it's the same size, is a lot more primitive. It's just a bunch of stones like glued together, you know, it's kind of like Roman technology. And in this, on the right, the Incan is perfect and polished, and it's a totally different level. So, and here on the right is the wall of the Incan church. And some of the walls of the Incan church you can see from the street, you know, not all of it, but you can see how there had been some earthquakes that had moved the blocks apart some, but they're still fit so perfectly together that they can withstand these earthquakes. And I think you know, they dismantled 4/5 of the temple, and they probably dismantled the church too. So I think originally this wall went way up. You know, you can see how it's tilted toward the end, it went way up and towards maybe like a semi-dome or something. But you can see how these are cut perfectly together. So that's Sacsayhuaman, those giant stones I was telling you about, taken from a distance. And these are the jaggeds. It was called like the jaguar teeth because it was jagged. And these are those stones taken from a distance. A person would be maybe this tall. So this stone is really big. And they brought these from quarries a long ways away too, you know. So how did they carry them? Here's another sign. I should have put my bike in front of all of these because a person would be maybe halfway up one of these. These walls were huge. Well, you know how tall the wall was because of my bike. You know, my bike seat is about this high. So this stone here fit perfectly. A perfect diamond. I mean, this will be here forever. And look at these. These are cut round. They're cut curved, like a laser went in there and cut and curved them. They didn't just find these stones with these curves on them like this. Maybe I can click on it and we can look at the curve more close up. It's a little bit bigger. Yeah. They didn't find these like this because they're all the same curve. They cut them, but how did they cut them? We don't even have the technology to cut it like this. They had like a laser or something that went so yeah, must have been the aliens. And this thing is just sitting on top, but perfect. It'll never fall away, and maybe it's just still sitting there because the Spaniards couldn't take it away. Here's another picture of that, and here's I think that same wall right there, and you can see people here next to it. So there's like 1, 2, 3, maybe a dozen of those as they go up. And then so you can walk up and walk through the passage. It must have been a really pretty temple. Now this is another interesting part about Cuzco, about Sacsayhuaman. It's on the other side of the pitch, the field of grass, up on the top of a hill, and it looks kind of like a place where you would have like the gold medalist standing in the middle. And so this is probably how they had it. They'd have like the ceremonies. There's my bike back there. You had ceremonies, and like the king would stand up here. And then like his friend would stand here, and somebody else would stand here, somebody else here. But this is granite, and look how straight this is. It's cut perfectly straight, perfect, and it's into the granite. Okay. And when I looked, I should have taken a close-up picture of this, looking into it, because when I looked at it in here, there were no marks at all. It was perfect. There were no, you know, places where like, even if, I mean, I'm not saying that the Indians had power tools, but even if they did have power tools, you know, if we were to make it today, you would see, you know, where the little grinder stopped, and they would have that little divot mark. Unless, of course, they wanted to like polish it after they did it, but it's just perfect. It's totally perfect, and it's granite, and it's a lot of it is cut, you know, this big area. So, and I saw stuff cut like that in Mexico as well. So. Now this is a really famous picture of Cuzco. This is in the streets of Cuzco, and it's called like the 12-sided rock or something. Oh, whoops. I guess it's even a better picture from my page, because it has all these different sides on it. See how it goes down, and then it turns down here, and then it goes, and then it turns down here, and then it goes, and then it turns, and it turns, and then it goes flat across the bottom, but then it goes, and then it turns here. So it turns. It has 2 notches right here in the middle to accommodate these stones up above perfectly. Like perfectly. You couldn't stick a needle inside the corners of these. And look at that little one down there, and that one, and that one. They're just perfect. And the stone is huge too. It's like, I don't know, I can't remember how far across it was, but it was maybe like, it was big. It was like 3 feet from here to here. Like, so yeah. Aliens did that. Here's the gate to Sacsayhuaman Temple on one of the bars. Here's looking at that area that I was just showing, like the Olympic champion area, from the side, and you can see how deeply cut and how perfectly straight it is. Here's Cusco with Sacsayhuaman's teeth in front of it. Here is the wall of Sacsayhuaman. Not all of the wall faces had huge stones. These ones have like, you know, average size stones or 3-foot wide stones or whatever. But I don't think the Spanish could have just assembled this one either. Here's an interesting area inside of Sacsayhuaman. It's like really steep. I don't know what this was for. Maybe it was like an altar, probably an altar where they placed a lot of different trinkets and stuff around the edge of it, and you'd walk in and you'd worship there. Or maybe you would go in and sing for acoustics, or maybe it was a place where people would sit, but it was interesting. That was interesting. So here's an entrance to it. Here's the field with Cusco in the background. You can see how it's on a field above the city. Here are the teeth of it. So here's a good picture of the of downtown Cusco, with the Incan wall on the right here, which is like perfectly. I took this picture with perfectly flat, perfectly polished granite, perfectly placed together with the lines, as you can see, going perfect all the way down into the horizon. And these are really big stones, and they're going to be there forever. And then on the left is the Spanish, you know, with doing a better job probably of most walls in Spain, but they couldn't even think about doing it as well as this. I mean, where did they even get these stones? They went into a special quarry. I don't know what a quarry was. Can't remember, but I think it wasn't close. And yeah. So no, I don't want to knock the Incans. I think the Incans had a great culture of civilization, just as advanced as anything in Europe at the time, but, well, not as advanced in war, but I mean, but they didn't make these walls. The giants from space did, the Anunnaki. You know, you got to be realistic. So here's an ancient wall of Sacsayhuaman. Not all of it was totally amazing. Maybe the Incans made, you know, parts of it. But here's the big wall of Sacsayhuaman and the field. Here's a stone. This is the biggest stone in Sacsayhuaman, as a matter of fact. Now, you know how tall the wall at Sacsayhuaman is. You saw with my bicycle next to it. Okay, I should have taken a picture of this because it's all the same height. I should have taken a picture of this with my bike because my bike seat is about this high, right? So me standing up is about this high. And this is one stone. This thing is like close to the size of those megaliths in Baalbek, like, which is 1,200 tons. You know, so this is maybe like 1,000 tons. This is huge. One stone, and it's cut perfectly on this side. And so they just brought it here. I mean, this didn't come from here. It wasn't like a freestanding stone because it's placed right in the perfect place in the jaguar teeth. They brought it here from someplace, some quarry, and cut it. It's too big for Indians to carry. It's too big for us to carry now. You have to be realistic, people. The aliens. And then add all of the sightings that we get, and just add all the pieces together. It's obvious. And look at how big this stone is. This is another big stone. It's 3 stones taking up the whole area. I mean, this stone would dwarf my bike. You could put my bike would be like this in here. And they're all placed perfectly together. Okay. Here's another example of a street in Cusco with the Spanish stones here. Very good stone. Well, I think I'll even expand this because it's an interesting one. With the Incan on the left here, placed perfectly together, polished, no mortar, and then the Spanish. You can see all this mortar in between, thick mortar in between here. And the Spanish are like, oh, look how good we are. Oh yeah, good masons, but nothing like this where you can't even see the mortar at all. There is mortar in here, but it's like almost nothing. It's like painting glue on, you know, and this is like a couple of inches, an inch worth of just cement. So yeah, there's my bike next to another picture. I don't know if did we already look at that picture? Whoops. Now I got myself lost. I think I may have the same picture a bunch of different times on this. Oh, now I am lost. Whoopsies. So yeah, here we are. Here's my bike. Here's an entrance to Cuzco. A person would be like this high, and these two stones are big, are like one stone that they just brought. So it's not just this one, this megalith that we were just looking at, but these two. So yeah, there's another picture of my bike with all those stones fit perfectly together. Now here is the church inside of Cuzco. And you can see in the background right here is the Spanish church that they built on the outside of the Incan church, and here's the Incan church. And as I told you before, it was like the mortar is like this really thin, like white. I saw just white color, like basically painted on, but they didn't even need it because this looks exactly like the King's Chamber in the Great Egypt Pyramid of Egypt. It's just perfect, perfectly flat, perfectly straight, perfectly placed together, perfectly angled here. It's perfect. It's completely different constructors than anything you see in Europe, from the Romans or the Greeks or. Actually, the Parthenon was perfect, so I was kind of thinking that maybe the Parthenon was helped by the aliens. But anyways, here's that piece again. Here's the church in Cuzco. Here's the Spanish-style masonry with bricks, and here's the church at Cuzco. And you can see they're kind of broken apart a little bit, like their mortar finally broke, and then it moved apart a little bit. But they still has structural integrity because the planes are so flat that you don't even need it to be glued together because it's so flat. It just fits perfectly. So here's an entrance to Cuzco. Here's another angle. Here, this will illustrate how perfectly flat it is. It's so flat that it's shiny. You can see how shiny it is because it's so perfectly cut and polished. You see how it's shiny like that, the glimmer? So here's those big walls at Sacsayhuaman, those big stones. And you have two levels of it. The biggest stones are on the bottom, but then you have this other level here and then a third here. So I don't know what it looked like in the original, and maybe they had like statues on the inside or something, but yeah, here's the field, and then the other side on the top, you have this thing where the people would sit. But this is perfect. It's cut deep, perfect end. Yeah, maybe they just had different people, little kids standing in front in here, but yeah, this is just perfectly cut granite, and I have no idea how they did it. Here's my bike next to another group of stones. Like, look at the size of this stone here. You know. So here's that big stone again from a different angle. And here's Sacsayhuaman. Here's a stone inside of the city of Cuzco with my bicycle in front. Oh man, I missed that bike. It was a heavy bike, but it was so burly and durable. It was amazing. Shimano bike. Yeah, and the components worked on it great and everything. But anyways, look how perfectly together these are fit. Maybe we should make this one big because this is a good picture of the inside of Cuzco. Yeah, look at that. Cut. They cut this bottom one perfectly up like that. Cut this one. I mean, we would even have trouble duplicating a stone like this, even if the stones were like 100th the size, like little bitty stones. Like, how would they? You need like math or some kind of computer program we don't have to know how to cut these so perfectly. I mean, they're not symmetrical. You know, it's not like a block here and a block here, and then you piece it together. All of these stones are different. All the stones have different angles and yet they're fit perfectly together. I mean, I don't even know how in the hell you would even do it. It's like the only way I can think is if you made a giant cookie cutter thing that just went in, pushed in, like, and came out with like a laser cookie cutter or something. But here's another angle, the bottom angle of those stones. You can see how perfectly they are. Here's a lady standing in front of one. I didn't take that photo. I got it off the internet. And there's Sacsayhuaman. I think there's a big picture of that sucker. If you wanted to see it, we can let it load. Oh yeah, and here's the church. Well, actually, let's do another picture of the church. Here's the church. Let's let this guy load. Oh, I don't have the big version. Oh well. So here's the church, right in the center of Cuzco there. And here's this dark one is the Incan wall. and this light one in the back is the Spanish church that they build afterwards. And if you come up close, you can see that the Spanish church is better, higher quality than anything in Europe, because they were trying to equal what the Indians did. But yeah, it's not nearly as good as this wall, which is perfect. Like you can see the front wall here, it just comes down perfectly, like as though it's like a ship. It's like an ironclad, you know, iron ship. It's just perfectly flat, only it's a bunch of stones put together, and it's amazing. But yeah, seeing those together, and here's a close-up of that same exact church, just a close-up of it. That same exact thing that we were looking at before. Here's the Incan, and you do see some cracks here. They have busted apart a little bit over the years through, you know, I guess construction work adding to it, and then earthquakes and stuff. But it's still perfectly. You can see how perfectly placed together they are, and the difference in masonry. You can tell that this is much higher quality than this below, which the Spanish did, trying to imitate it. It's nothing. It's totally different quality, different workmanship. And the other one on top is probably thousands of years older as well, you know. So that was Cuzco. Now let's do the next one after Cuzco is New Age. We did New Age monuments in Europe. Let's do monuments in Europe. Okay, monuments in Europe. So, I think we may have already looked at this. But yeah, there's Stonehenge and yeah, we already did monuments in Europe. My bad. Drugs. Personally, for me, drugs is a New Age thing, and well, I think drugs is a New Age thing for a lot of people. But oh, look, so it says that the link didn't go. All right, we'll have to come back to that. Sometimes links don't go. Astrology. Astrology is a thing that is big in New Age as well, because it kind of brings us full circle. Astrology. It brings us full circle in our evolution as a species. Astrology is astronomy on steroids. It's the next level of astronomy. I saw a video from Carl Sagan, and it was a really well done video, and he was talking about how Galileo and Copernicus figured out that the Earth is round, is not the center of the solar system, because they looked at the moons of Jupiter, and they could see how the moons of Jupiter were going around Jupiter, because they would go in front of it and then they would disappear. So they surmised that it would disappear because it went behind Jupiter and then it would appear again. So they had the idea of things going revolving around each other, and then they saw all the different planets, and they would see how the planets in the smaller revolutions, smaller orbits, such as Mars, had a faster orbit than the ones in the bigger orbits. So like there would be Jupiter there, and then Mars would zoom past it, and then Mars would zoom past it again, and then they compared that with the moons of Jupiter, how the different moons of Jupiter went around, and then they would make little models of different and you know, they could see that the moons of Jupiter were at different distances from Jupiter. So then they made models of solar systems with different planets being farther apart from the central sphere from each other, and how the ones that are closer together would spin faster than the ones farther apart. And then, of course, comparing that with the law of centrifugal force. When you bring your arms together, when you're spinning around, you spin faster to conserve the centrifugal force, to conserve the momentum, and just adding all those things together, as well as well, some other things that I don't even understand. They figured out that the Earth was round. And anyways, that was a good thing about Carl Sagan's, or that the Earth revolved around the sun. But that was interesting about Carl Sagan. But then Carl Sagan turns around and goes, but then there's astrology, And we still haven't come into a fully scientific society because you still have stupid people believing in astrology, which is a false science. And astrology is not a false science. Astrology comes from ancient knowledge from the aliens and psychic people talking to aliens, of understanding that all the different positions of all the planets influences the energy of each of those planets, because they communicate with each other, kind of like adjusting the rabbit ears of your television to get a good signal, or your radio MP3 player playing the radio goes in and out of good signal as you walk behind buildings and stuff like this. And so, and each planet has is made up of different materials, so that they transmute different kinds of energies, and astrologers understand this. And anyways, so this is why in New Age we're going to realize that astrology is actually real, and we're going to it'll help us realize that we are part of a living being. We're not independent of the universe as a whole. We're affected. I mean, we're starting to tell that now. We're getting cancer because we're filling our bodies with unnatural substances and toxics, and we know that we can get cancer from too much radiation because our bodies are affected by this stuff, and we're all part of it, the same thing. And even listening to radio, knowing that there's a radio waves out there, is that actual thing. You can talk to somebody on the cell phone. You know that there's a bigger world out there that we're part of, but it spreads beyond this planet. It goes to the rest of the solar system and then the universe. And so when planets align, of course, it's like getting an extra jolt of energy. So we've known astrology for a long time, and it'd be a good thing to study it, because then you could know that if you I listened to a guy called Christopher Witecki. It's called Star. I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but he does daily astrology speeches, lessons, and he talks about all of all the different things that a different person with a different sign can expect, and from day to day. And he says, because this planet is in this position, you can expect that, feel that, and when you can compare that and feel it in yourself, it'll heighten your abilities to be in tune with your body and your emotions and your spirit body and everybody else with your sign and the earth and everything, and then appreciate the power of prayer and intention and our power of our minds over the atmosphere and each other. And so astrology is a good tool for all of that. And so here's the zodiac. Here's the different signs. You have 12 different signs for the 12 different zodiacs, 12 different areas in the sky that shoot different energies to us depending on where we're sitting to. So there's Gemini, the twins, and then you have Cancer. Now I don't know enough about astrology to know the characteristics of all of the different signs, because I only recently became interested in astrology, and I haven't really started to study it so much, but I am interested in it. So yeah, then you have Cancer is the crab, because it's from the Crab Nebula. Taurus, I think Gemini are supposed to be like, my brother's a Gemini, they're supposed to be really have a wide range of interests, and always doing stuff, kind of like Leonardo da Vinci. Maybe he was a Gemini, I don't know. Crab, Cancer, that was my wife as a Cancer. They're supposed to be, and I guess Capricorns and Cancers get along. Cancers are supposed to be really like emotional. And then you have Taurus. Maybe they're supposed to be hard-headed, I don't know, because these things have big heads, I don't know. But anyways, Ptolemaic system, even in ancient Greece, or ancient Egypt, Greek Egypt, in the BCs, they believed in astrology. And okay, and then let's see here. Scorpio, Scorpion, Sagittarius. My mom's a Sagittarius. They're supposed to have goals, and they shoot for their goals, and they go for it, but yet they're fun-loving. Capricorn, that's me. It's the mountain goat who just climbs and climbs until he gets to the top of the mountain. Hard workers. Leo, my brother and my dad are Leo. They're supposed to be like, think that they're the lion, be the prima donnas. Pisces. So yeah, astrology. So this is my little page on astrology. I'll read this one of these days. But let's see if I have any cool pictures. Taurus, Gemini. More pictures of Gemini because these are from Gemini because it's also what the constellation looks like. Looks like a couple of twins. If you have a good imagination. And I think same thing with Lion, but I'm not so sure. So anyways, astrology is a new age thing to study. Okay, chakras. New Agers are into chakras because it's your spirit body. And it's time for us to realize that we have a spirit body. The atheists, to realize that we're not just a bunch of random chemical reactions inside of a complex brain, but we are something from another dimension, from another world, and that energy from the other world comes from those other planets and stars into our body through our organs, which hold a different vibration, just like all the different chakras hold a different vibration. And those organs are regulated, translated. The pineal gland, we talked about the pineal gland, is that gland inside of our head, middle of our brain, that translates our mind's eye to our brain to tell us, you know, translate our intuition into actual concrete thoughts to ground us into this world. Keeps us focused into this world and not going schizo and looking in the spirit world all the time. And so that is the pineal gland is the endocrine gland for the brain, and then you have other endocrine glands that help transfer hyperdimensional energy into the various organs of your body. So the thyroid would be for the maybe the throat chakra, the thymus for the heart chakra. I don't really know. I haven't really studied this yet, but these are the different chakras. They're represented by different lotuses, like different flowers with different numbers of petals on them, and so it basically you can think of it as though it's cymetics, like I was talking about cynetics, talking about on the other page. Different vibration, as we saw in the video experiment there, will hold the sand particles in a different formation. So it's just like this. These are the vibration formation of the waves coming into our body and holding that vibration, that physical, you know, certain level-sided and shaped vibration inside of your organ, and translating, you know, creating a coherent, direct line of information from that that organ in your body to the wider world and everybody else's and the universes, and so it's kind of like how you get fed spiritually through your different chakras. So here's the 5-sided one with the high vibration, maybe a little lower vibration, this one with the less sides, and then the highest here. And I don't have this coherently organized, so I'll do that later. But this is like probably the crown. I think they get more levels as you get higher. But you know, the energy in our body comes into our bodies the same way as it does from into the earth. This is what the electromagnetic field of the earth looks like. The energy comes in through the North Pole, and then as it coalesces and comes together, that's how you see the northern lights swirling around up in the North Pole, and then it shoots in through the center of the earth, and then out the South Pole, and then it comes way out into space, and then falls back into the North Pole again, and that's how our compasses work, because the iron in the compass can point to where this all comes in, because the center of the earth is iron, made out of the same thing that compass is, and it spins around. The center, you need the earth to be spinning around in order to create this charge. So some people think that if the earth stops spinning and spins around, then gravity will go away. Like gravity depends on that, and I don't think that gravity depends on anything spinning around, but the electric charge could depend on something spinning around. So we could lose our electromagnetic, you know, compasses could go haywire, and our radios and telecommunications could go haywire if the earth stops spinning for whatever reason. But yeah, we have a giant core on the inside that spins around and creates this, but our bodies do too. Our bodies have we're an electromagnetic being. We're like a microcosm of the macrocosm. We're like a little earth, our bodies are. And our heart isn't just the organ that pumps the blood through the body, but it is an actual, well, it has a pacemaker. It has an electric charge that tells your heart to go every time, like sometimes people have to get even artificial pacemakers put in there to send the electric charge into the heart. And but you can detect the energy from the heart up to 8 feet away from the body. So this isn't even accurate. For the woman, 8 feet away would be like this. So in reality, it goes like this, like way out and then out to here and then way in. Kind of like the Earth, like this is the Earth, it would go way, way, way out and way in. But I think they drew it like this just as to make it, make you understand and not have to make the picture too big. But they should make one that looks accurate. But different organs, different chakras, like you have this one here and here, I think they have different, you have different levels of auras around. You have like your aura that only goes 3 inches across, that is governed by your root chakra. I'm just guessing here. And then you go 1 chakra up, and then that is grounded in by it comes in your body, but then swirls around your body, farther away from your body, like out here. And then it goes farther and farther out, until the crown chakra. You can see how it comes in, but when it finally turns into its halo, or it turns into its torus, its donut, it's way out at the edges of the universe and then comes in. So this is through our mind. This is how we connect. It intertangles with all of the other crown chakras of everybody else in the universe. And so, your heart is 8 feet out or whatever, and that's just for whoever's within 8 feet of you. Maybe, your heart is your emotions for people in your family or whatever, analogy. And then your mind is to communicate with the rest of the world. So all the different chakras hold a different vibration and a different purpose. Here's another illustration of it, all the different colors of the chakras. The root one is red. Your belly, I think that maybe that's your sexual chakra, is orange. Your heart, or your solar plexus down here, kind of like upper part of your belly, is yellow, and the heart is green, and the throat is indigo, is that? And then blue is your third eye, your pituitary gland, and then purple is your third eye. Yeah, I should study the endocrine system a little bit more, but I don't know why I put Abraham about to kill Joseph on there, but here's another illustration over here of the different chakras. I guess this is how the Indians, an Indian name of them. I think originally the people who held on to the idea of the chakra were the Indians for the whole time. They were more open-minded religiously than in Europe. They had the Catholic Church shutting everything down. So the top is Shangasara, followed by Ajna, which is perfect. Okay, so the crown chakra is white. White is the purest of colors. And then your pineal gland here, or pituitary gland level, or your brain, your third eye, is the Ajna in purple, and then Vishuddhi, throat chakra, indigo. And like I said, I think maybe indigo children are called indigo children, indigo people, because they're activating their throat chakra, starting to speak their minds. Heart chakra, Anahata, belly chakra, Manipura, cranial chakra, sexual chakra, Svadhisthana, sexual chakra, Muladhara. Here's an Incan god. I don't know why I have that there. Incan god, because I guess they believed in astrology too. Here's the different chakras of Indian map chakra. They have different signs. I think that represents a chakra. Another representation of chakras, and all the different chakras have different signs as well. Not just the little mandala that goes around it, but they have the little sign signifying the chant that you can make to activate that chakra. I think it's for the chakra here, the throat chakra. Maybe it's the heart chakra, but yeah. But chanting can activate the chakras. And in a similar way as screaming really loud can break a glass in another room, or strumming on a certain note of a guitar can activate that string of the guitar in another room away. If you chant the vibration of your chakra, then you can activate that chakra and dilate its vacillaries, so to speak, help it circulate energy better and connect to its higher realm quicker. So here's the different drawings of the different chakras. 7th is the crown chakra, and this is what it looks like. 6th is the third eye. 5th is the throat. 4th is the heart. 3rd is the solar plexus. 2nd is the sacral. And the 1st is the root. So you have 7 of them. So we're becoming more and more interested in the chakras as we go on in time. So astrology, we already did astrology. Channelers are people who talk to the aliens and they tell us what the aliens think, and I love the channelers. Channelers are wonderful. So let's talk about some channelers. That's another thing about the New Agers. As soon as this can load, seems as though it's being quite slow. Okay. And then conspiracy also is one. I'll click on that a bunch of times. Okay, channelers. My favorite channelers. Let's talk about channelers. We have Seth, Jane Roberts. I haven't read the entire series. I only read it because my dad was really into it, and I only read Seth Speaks and The Nature of Personal Reality, but I heard that they have like a 20-part disc series that I'll try and buy one of these days and listen to it because I love listening to stuff. Because I did listen to parts of Seth Speaks off of YouTube that was there, and it was really interesting. Talk about cool stuff. And she died like in the 70s, so she was one of like the original ones. Carla Ruckert-Raw, I recently found out about that because David Wilcock was all into it, and so and then the book is right on the internet, so I turned it into audio, and I liked what they had to say. Although, except my favorite, Darryl Anka is somebody who I discovered like a year or two ago because he's all over YouTube. People put his speeches. He's this guy. Okay, Lee Carroll Cryon, J.Z. Knight, Ram Thester, Hicks Abraham, Will Sadler, Grant Book, Edgar Case, Katsuragas, Compounds, Billy, Barbara Mercilak, Pleiadians, Course in Miracles, Wendy Morosirians. Okay, so let's go and talk about these. Here's Seth, Jane Roberts. That's her in trance as Seth, and she has a different personality when she is Seth. I should have embedded the video of her talking on here. She's like, I am Seth, I am you. Oh, interesting. So yeah, she died in '84. So she was going in the 70s. That's her as Jane Roberts. When she was as Jane Roberts, she wrote books based on the ideas she got as Seth. Because I think she remembered, she was really into what she taught through Seth. And unfortunately, I don't have a video of her as Seth. Okay, here's Darryl Anka. He's like a model maker in Hollywood. So he has a job and then his like hobby. And I think he does charge for his like speeches, but he lets the speeches get up on internet. So yeah, he's cool. He's one of those like spiritual teachers who isn't in it for the money because he has his own job. He's like a spiritual teacher with his own job. But I guess he isn't per se. I mean, he actually, when you do interviews with him and you listen to him talk, he's really smart, and he's a great spiritual teacher. But when he's in the personality of Bashar, who's himself from a parallel universe 3,000 years in the future, he like knows everything. It's really good. I really love listening to him. He's a half gray, half human alien. Yeah. So that's what Bashar said about himself. So let's see. Carla Ruckert, who does Raw, that's her as a young lady, and she would go into a trance, and then this other guy would ask her questions. Don Elkins would ask her questions, and she would answer them. And so she's talking about the Ascension and the evil Orion aliens, and then so I guess Ra were the aliens who helped build the pyramids, and they're the Venusians, the aliens from Venus, and they are talking about how every like 29,000 years when the sun goes through the galactic plane, people get to ascend, reincarnate on a higher dimension, and then you have to wait for another 29,000 years if you don't make it on that time. So, and not everybody's going to make it this time, but maybe 10%. So anyways, and she had all sorts of interesting, crazy things to say about other stuff. So I like her. But then that guy Don Elkins, they had to stop because that guy Don Elkins, I guess, got possessed by the evil Orion aliens and blew his brains out. Lee Carroll, this guy's actually from Longmont, like 8 miles from Boulder. And he's good. He reminds me of Esther Hicks, and I didn't put Esther Hicks on here for some reason, but he's just kind of like a happy, feel-good, oh, if you could just listen to the aliens on the other side. They're so excited for you, and it's so happy and such a party. And he's kind of a feel-good guy, but he's not. He doesn't really disclose a lot of. I mean, I guess if you read between the lines, you can see like his ideas about stuff, or the aliens' ideas about stuff, but they don't like just spill beans on all sorts of stuff the way that she does, big time, raw the most, and also Daryl Anka. So for that reason, I'm not really all that into Cryon, because I like it when you spill beans and stuff, but he definitely has a positive message. And I feel like it's maybe he's channeling the same exact spirit as Esther Hicks does. I like it, Esther Hicks. And then there's Daisy Nantharantha. Here's her as her, and then here's she as Rantha, who's, I guess, a warrior from, I guess, one of the wars in the Mahabharata 35,000 years ago, and she gets into her trance and talks about Rantha. And then she even opened up her own school, the Rantha School of Enlightenment, but she's got no she's kind of like, what's that lady, Ashayana Dean, Anna Hayes. She's in it for the money, and she like sues people if they like, you know, copyright infringement and stuff. So, but anyways, as far as what I listened about her, I like the persona. This is her talking in that movie, The Secret. And I like the stuff that she says, but she doesn't really spill a whole lot of beans and say a whole lot of different things. I think she's just kind of like a happy feel-goody type, so I'm not really into her that much. And there isn't a whole lot of Rantha on the internet, I guess, because you have to pay to see it, and I don't have that kind of money. Here's Esther Hicks. I included her. That's her as Esther, and I guess that's her husband. Yeah, and so I like her. She's good. And then Edgar Cayce, he was like the original psychic. Here's him as an old man. And here's him as Edgar Cayce, and then here's him as the present day Edgar Cayce, David Wilcock, and you can see that it's the same person. So pretty interesting. But he spilled a whole bunch of beans, and he's got a whole lot of information. He even has like a what's it called, the Institute of I can't remember, but they have all sorts of books and audiobooks, and I should listen to it because it's supposed to be a lot of information. I'd love to hear it. He invented homeopathic medicine, because he'd give all these people, like millions of people would come to him, and he'd give them, even if they were like 3,000 miles away, he'd give them, tell them what they need to take, what herb to take, and what ailment they had, and they take the herb, and then it'd make them feel better. So then somebody was like, oh look, homeopathic medicine, take a little bit of this, and naturopathic medicine, do that, and then it got underway. So, and then he talked about Atlantis. He's the guy who turns people into Atlantis. So I mean, he lived like 100 years ago. So those are the channelers. Oh, let's keep going. Barbara Marciniak. She was like the first channeler that I read a book about. I read her book, Bringers of Dawn, back in like '95, and I loved it. I was glued to it because she was talking about the Pleiadians coming and the ascension, and the aliens are going to land, and they can live 1,000 years, and it's all good and all this cool stuff. So yeah. And I think I've heard her in the persona as the Pleiadians, and she speaks in the same exact accent. She's like, "Yes, you must be," very similar to Jane Roberts in that regard. They sing very sing-songy and jazzed up. Course in Miracles is a book. I don't have like the emblem or the person. I guess it's one lady who channeled like Jesus Christ, and I read the book. You're supposed to read the book and take an entire year to read the book. So I read the book, taking an entire year, and meditating on all the different lessons, and I did that. But it was, I don't know, it was just a big tedious thing for me. I wasn't really into it. A lot of people were really into it, but it was kind of like the Quran, I guess. Wasn't really organized. It was just her saying the same thing over and over again, as far as what I could understand from it. But the one thing that I took away from it is that we're all a big one happy family, and you shouldn't try to be friends with only certain kind of people. You should be friends with everybody. So there you go. And then of course me, I channel this guy called Billy. Man, why don't I have Billy, the embedded video of Billy on here? I should have it. Yeah, Billy really likes monkeys. So yeah, he really likes monkeys. He's really into monkeys. So what his teachings are, and I respect that because monkeys are cool. They're cute. They stick their fingers in their butts and smell it and entertain people. So, and then there's the Urantia book. William Sadler. Well, it's weird because I have two conflicting stories about the the origins of the Urantia book. One is that it's a bunch of these different people who would take turns getting channeled by the same spirit, and then they would compare the notes and put it together, and oh, lo and behold, it was the same exact book, and it's all coherent. And then the other idea is that some person, that was just one person, maybe even this guy William Sadler, who went into the trance and wrote the book. Oh yeah, but I think somebody actually told me that no, it was written because they would lock papers into a safe, and then they come and open the safe the next day, and then all of these other pieces of paper would like magically appear, poof, into thin air, out of thin air, and that's the Urania book. Okay, so anyway, I read the Urania book, the entire Urania book. It's like really big, and I read the whole thing in a month. I didn't peruse over anything. I was stoned off my ass, so I didn't totally remember everything as if I was sober, but I read the entire thing. And it's very interesting. It made me think about the world in a different way, you know. The Urania book is very, like, I guess, anti-superstition, anti-astrology, you know, pro-science, kind of fundamentalist Christian, you know, really interested in Jesus Christ and Christianity, and you know, they say that like there's the positive races of white, or the superior races, and they're smarter than the blacks, who are the stupid races, and so it's racist. And anyways, Ra, this lady, Ra, says that the Urantia book was written by disembodied spirits on the lower astral realm. So kind of like not ascended masters, but people, spirits who can see, you know, the wider picture and know stuff, but they have a very, they're seeing it through a tainted lens, and so they've got an agenda to push and stuff. But it's interesting. But yeah, the stuff about, you know, Earth is like 606 out of 619 planets and some. Maybe that's true, but whatever. Who knows? It's kind of similar to what Anna Hayes says, sort of, about how there was a fall on, you know, the Archangel and the boss, and then he brought other bad guys with him. So yeah, sure, whatever. I don't believe it or disbelieve it. It's interesting to listen to. That's why I included it here, because it made a big impact on me. So those are the channelers. Now let's go to conspiracy, because conspiracy of aliens, trying to convince everybody that the aliens are here. You know, it includes what we have here is the conspiracy, and then there's the Philadelphia experiment, the Montauk Project, Project Looking Glass, Jump Room to Mars, Area 51, 9/11, JFK, Illuminati, Super Soldiers, Federal Reserve, Media Giants, HARP, and aliens. Now, this is a really interesting subject, because there's probably a whole lot of people who are totally full of shit mixed in with the stuff that's interesting. So let's just talk about some simple conspiracy theories. You have Project Looking Glass. It's this thing, and it's that movie with Jodie Foster, Stargate, or whatever it was called. I guess the person who wrote that book, I think Carl Sagan wrote that book, got the idea from somebody who got the idea from something that actually existed. And it's this thing that spins around and around and around and around inside of like some kind of argon gas, which makes it so that you go into a higher dimension, and then you can see the potential future, the future of the potential reality that your mind is in at the moment. And so that the government has been using that to look into the future, and then that's how they got, that's how they knew that Barack Obama was going to be president. So then you know, George Bush, and they all have been using it to kind of control people. And that's why they actually invaded Iraq, because they thought that because Gaddafi found one of these from the ancient civilization buried under the earth, and he sold it to Saddam Hussein, who Saddam Hussein wanted to use it to look in the future to get his own power. So then the government invaded Iraq, or did 9/11 in order to get the motivation of the people to invade Iraq in order to retrieve this thing so they could use it for themselves. So that's a pretty hardcore conspiracy theory. And then of course they have the whole Masonry, Illuminati conspiracy theory. I wouldn't really consider that just a conspiracy theory, really. I mean, it's just interesting, little known history, you know. Masons are just a sect of Christians who are against the Catholic Church, and they want to be able to think for themselves and not be restricted by all of the over control and closed-mindedness of the Catholic Church, you know, and think more liberally and more scientifically, and more trying to figure out a way to get everybody to have a say in society. So then they made the layout of Washington, D.C., I guess, in terms of a Masonic layout. So it's like, sure, whatever. Like a big eagle. Like there's the eyes. There's the capital, eyes here in the mouth and all that, or whatever. You see? And then the all-seeing eye, the eye on top of the pyramid. Well, yeah, you get yourself in a position of leverage. You can tell everybody else what to do. And so they're like, yeah, look, it's the Masons who have control. See? So whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. Now let's go down here. What other conspiracy theory? The Philadelphia experiment? Oh man, this is messed. I hope I didn't fix this and then get it screwed up. Wacky. Alright, well let's talk to about some of these other ones. Philadelphia experiment. Wonder why I don't have fake pictures of it. I could have sworn I put pictures of it up here. Is that boat, the Eldridge, that they may go invisible with a Tesla coil by zapping with all this energy that put into a higher dimension, and then when I came back, all the sailors were infused into the walls of the boats. 2 sailors jumped out of the boat and fell through space for a long time, and then they woke up in like 1984, and then one of them went back to 45 and then denies that it ever happened. They made a movie about it, and then the other guy went into like 200 years in the future, and then like 300 years in the future, where they did aeroponic food from skyscrapers, growing food, and they were hanging cities, like flying cities, anti-gravity cities, and it was kind of like socialism, like you would just get assigned a job, and so he showed up there and he got assigned a job as a tour guide, and he worked for 2 years doing that. People rode around on segways, and they're really tall and pretty and dressed in spandex. So I believe him, although some people are trying to say that he's a liar, so I don't know. His name is Albielic. The Montauk Project, I think, is similar to that. Project Looking Glass, what I was talking to. Jump Room to Mars is supposed to be this warp drive jump room that you go into, and it's and then you can go into Mars, and we have like a base of 60,000 soldiers in Mars. Area 51, well, the government admitted that exists, and that's where all the aliens are held. 9/11, I think 9/11 was an inside job. JFK, obviously. Illuminati, I guess, is what they call the people, black government, super soldiers. Talked about that before. You know, people genetically engineered to get brainwashed and do some stuff really good. Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is interesting because we don't know where the money is. Ben Bernanke, the king of the president of the Federal Reserve, is appointed by the governor or the president. He isn't voted into power, and once he gets in there, he gets to do whatever he wants with the money, and nobody gets to know what he does. He's like, nope, I'm not telling you. It's a secret. Media giants. Well, that's going to go away with the internet. But one media giant, Ted Turner, he has a very dismal outlook on society. He thinks we're all going to die. So we know what their agenda is, killing everybody. Can't believe he said that. Aliens. Alright, so that's conspiracy. I could have sworn I had disclosure. Disclosure, yeah. What are we going to do? How are we going to get everybody to believe that the aliens are here? Well, you can get a bunch of the government people who have seen stuff, government witnesses, to testify and see, you know, that this guy chased after an alien. The other guy chased after actually met an alien or whatever. So anyway, a Roper poll in 2002 said that 83% of American males thought that the aliens were here. Out of 18 to 64-year-olds, 79% of Americans thought we were here. And this is like 9 years ago. I'm sure those numbers have gone up a lot. Those with household incomes of $50,000 or more, 85% of them think that the aliens are here. So it's not like stupid people. It's you know, people who have like jobs and whose brains work think that the aliens are here. In Western states, 82%. Those with internet access at home, 82%. And then but out of those, 64% of Americans think that there's, or I guess they think 83%. I don't know. Think that there's life somewhere else out in the universe. I think it is. And then who think that there's intelligent life like us somewhere out in this universe. 64% believe in believe that there's aliens here. I don't know why they would, only 64% would think that the aliens are intelligent, when 83% believe that they're here. They'd have to be intelligent if they're here. Know how to fly a plane. But anyways, 83% believe that people on the Earth have been abducted. 83% of Americans in 2002. So a lot. It's just that people are afraid to talk. Because of peer pressure. Because you're trained to have peer pressure and be afraid of everybody, each other, because of the angry teachers and growing in school. So, okay, 79% have had or know someone who has a close encounter. 79%. Well, I'm not one of those 79%. Well, wait, hold on. I have met people who have had close encounters. There was this one guy at my parents' party in the 70s who was friends with Whitley Strieber, and he was at Whitley Strieber's cabin in New York, and those guys got abducted. He was he didn't want to tell me about it, but he told me he would tell me later. But I never saw the guy again. So, feel they are very psychologically prepared for the discovery of extraterrestrial life. 67%. So that's good. As soon as those numbers get up to like 95%, then they'll be let rigid land. 58% think that the government does not share enough information with the public. Yeah, and I'm one of those 58%. But whatever. I don't think it should be the government's job anyway. People are. The government's job should be to allow people to be individuals. And once you allow people to be individuals, then we won't need the government to tell us what to believe. You know, and as far as holding the secrets of the aliens, well, the aliens are going to land themselves as soon as we're ready for them to. So, anyways, here's some links to people who are disclosure people. You have the Disclosure Project, and he's the guy, Dr. Stephen Greer, who gets all of the different government workers to get in front of the group of people and tell their stories. And there've been like 400 of them telling all sorts of stuff, man. Meeting aliens, seeing UFOs, being told to cover stuff up. I mean, you listen to all of them, and it's pretty obvious. UFO Research Center cases, you have the Antonio Villas Boas, Betty and Barney Hill abduction. They got hypnotized, and they told the whole stuff she'd be getting abducted. Channelers, Barbara Siniak, well, lots of channelers do that. So this is just some stuff that I wrote really quickly. I said here Obama and disclosure. I think, well, I said this. I think that Obama is going to go disclosure if he got to be a second-term president, but I don't believe that anymore. I think Obama is just like is just another guy. He's not special. I think if we vote like a third-party guy in who isn't a slave to their party and you know, beholden to all these different people, then they're going to be a disclosure person. But they're going to have to figure out themselves. They're not going to be told. So at the end of the day, I don't know if the president will tell us anyways. My ideas have changed a lot since then. I think yeah, we're going to have to be told just directly or figure it out ourselves, or somebody other than the president, unless we vote somebody different in. So anyway, 58% believe the government is not telling us it knows about all it knows about UFOs. 58%. Oh, okay, so yeah, Stephen Hawking says aliens are bad, confers government conspiracy. Yeah, Stephen Hawking came out last summer and was like, yeah, if the aliens land, it's because they're bad and they're going to try to rape our planet because that's what we would do. And so I was like, yep, I knew that. I said it confirmed government conspiracy because everybody looks up to this guy like he's freaking, everything he says is the truth, you know. And so he says that, so it's like, yeah, duh, everybody believes that. Okay, so here is Bashar's timeline for alien invasion. After 2015 to 2025, it will be a certain fact known by the majority on the planet that extraterrestrial civilizations exist. So after 2012, a couple of years after 2012, most of the people on the planet already know that there's intelligent life somewhere in the universe, and therefore they're probably going to start to believe that they're here because if they're intelligent enough to fly here. Between 2025 and 2033, it is highly likely that we will have some open contacts that will be publicized. So that's pretty quick. That's in like 12 years. Now publicized where? You know, it could be publicized on some like internet site that everybody thinks is a freaky site. It depends on how many people are going to pay attention to the mainstream. But you know, CNN, they published, you know, they have like the governor of Arizona out there saying that he knows that alien that he saw is real, and that was publicized. So we're already having it. So you know, maybe by 2025 we'll have something on CNN where Larry King or Larry King's predecessor or successor will say something like, Yes, and here I'm interviewing the guy who has been abducted by aliens. And what does he say? Kind of like Art Bell, coast to coast type interviews happening on mainstream radio, coast CNN and stuff, and people watching it. So it's coming. And then after 2040, Earth will become a member of the Alliance. So after 2040, and another 30 years, that's when the aliens are going to land, in 2040, between 2040 and 2050, in 30 or 40 years. Okay, so the Disclosure Project. John Callahan, FAA, Head of Accidents and Investigations. He's talking for a long time, for about an hour. So here's Callahan. Then we have Carol Rosen, doctor. So here's 94 testimonials, people who testified on the Disclosure Project YouTube channel. Okay, out of like the 400 that they have, these are 94 people who I've seen on YouTube that I collected. So Carol Rosen is a doctor who I guess operated on an alien or something. Michael Smith, U.S. Air Force radar controller, telling his story. So anyways, you have all these people. You can read who they are. Crash witness UFO expert, career engineer, astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, U.S. Navy radar. I heard, and I should collect these stuff. I think I will make a video of it. Edgar Mitchell with what's his name, Art Bell, and he's like, yes, aliens are here. They're here. He said it, and I even have another UFO YouTube video of him saying it, like the video of him saying it in front of the U.S. Press Corps. Of course, they didn't put that in the newspapers. Enrique Colbeck, Senior Air Traffic Controller, talking about his story. Danielle Sheehan, and he's attorney, talking about his story. So you have, yeah, these guys' testimony. I don't know what these guys are saying. Secrecy, witness testimony, radar pilot cases. Okay, so yeah, 94 testimony explaining the secrecy, and out of those 94, you have 27 on YouTube. Witness testimony. These two guys actually saw stuff. Radar and pilot cases. SAC nuke cases. You have Mark Hansel's U.S. Air Force. Government insiders, NASA deep insiders. Graham Bethune, retired U.S. Navy commander. Spaceship from Mark Candice. Here's a guy who even has a drawing of a spaceship from Area 51. And he saw it, I think. He even saw it. Dan Willis, U.S. Navy. Clifford Stone, U.S. Army Sergeant. George A. Filer, 3, U.S. Air Force, retired. George A. Filer, U.S. Air Force, retired. Don Phillips, Lockheed Skunk, works in CIA contractor. Probably talking about how they showed him a UFO, tried to get him to design it, back engineer it. Robert Salas, captain. Larry Warren, U.S. Air Force security officer. Robert Salas, captain. Donna Hare, NASA employee. Dwayne Edmondson, U.S. Air Force retired communications officer. Harlan Bentley, U.S. Army. Donna Hare. Sergeant Carl Wolf, U.S. Air Force. Donna Maynard, Defense Intelligence Agency. Sergeant Carl Wolf, U.S. Air Force. And then so that's the Disclosure Project with Stephen Greer. So he's a hero. Then you have Project Camelot. And they interview all sorts of different abductees. You have Miriam Delicato here, who was abducted by the blonde Nordics, who was telling her, and I guess her father was abducted as well, some kind of a genetic thing, and she was saying that they were telling her that we should all be storing grain for the upcoming pole shift catastrophe. It's going to wipe out most of the people, and we should store the grain in order to have the grain. Now my idea about her is maybe the people she talks to went to the wrong parallel universe of one that's in danger of having that happen, because I don't think we're in danger of having that happen. I think we're going to have a smooth transition. So maybe she was just like the backup. Maybe you want to have backup people or whatever. But anyways, she was interesting on the Project Camelot. Then there's this guy. I guess that's her father. Okay. Whoops. I wonder what happened here. It's not taking up the whole page. Oh, I'll fix it later. Alex Collier. He was abducted by. Let's see, what was his name? I can't remember, but these two aliens who are Andromedans. One of them's tall, one of them's short, and they're blue, and they speak telepathically. And when they speak, patterns come out of their foreheads because you can actually see their thoughts when they speak. And he went into their spaceship, and it's a giant spaceship so big that when you go into it, you don't even know you're in a spaceship. It's like being in a big giant park, like Central Park of New York, and because they have holograms and stuff in there, and I guess they're having these battles with the lizard aliens, and they never beat the lizard aliens, and lizard aliens have killed trillions and trillions of humans, and off in the Lyra system and all this stuff, and I don't know, and we get, and yeah, and then the evil lizard aliens, reptile aliens, the old ones are the biggest, and they live the longest, and they have big tails, and they look like Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they eat human babies. There's 14 of them that live in the center of the Earth, or 150 miles under the Earth, and oh, this guy's George Adamski. That's right. For some reason, this page is screwed up. I'll have to fix it later. But yeah, and he says that they get our government to feed them human babies, human children. That's why 30,000 American children are missing, because they were feeding the aliens with them, because they like to eat their glands to get high off the endocrine system. So, whoa, he's pretty crazy. He's pretty. It's like, whoa. Okay, so George Adamski, Polish-born American citizen who became widely known in UFO circles in some degree in popular culture after he claimed to have photographed ships from other planets, met with friendly Nordic alien space brothers to have taken flights with them. The first of the so-called contactees of the 50s, he styled himself to be a philosopher, teacher, student, saucer researcher, those often considered to be deluded and a fraud. I think he was George Adamski and George, the other George or whatever, I think were abducted from Joshua Tree in California. And they were there, but who knows. So anyways, Billy Mayer wasn't the first. Some people are like, what, Billy Mayer was saying this stuff before everybody else? It's like, no, George Adamski was there. There were other people. Now here's Anna Hayes, the queen of the complete history of the universe. She has talked with more detail about the ancient past, the cosmic past of anybody else. And I like that. I like it when people talk really deeply about ancient past. And I even made a 17-part series talking about what she said. She said she was abducted by aliens when she was a little kid and taken to these big rooms where they would all get together and you know, play with these computers to try to tune their brains in. And then she'd get abducted by the evil aliens because they know that she exists, and they wanted to like turn her bad. And she's really big into conspiracy. And yeah, but she says the same kind of stuff that Alex Collier does, that we've been doing these battles with all of these aliens for millions of years, and both of them say that the evil reptile aliens have come here through black holes from other universes into here, and humans did too, continuing their battle, so they're not even originally from this universe. And actually, she says that we're in a pocket universe. We're in a hidden universe that's not even directly connected to the central God, and that's why, but we are, because we're creatures of God, but our universe isn't. So the evil aliens who live here, they can't get their energy from God, so then they're dying slowly, so they need to get their energy off of us, create us, and then suck out like vampires off of our energy. Really trippy stuff. Here's Billy Mayer, the one-armed king of the Palladian contactees from like the 50s. I made a video saying that he was a fraud. I don't know, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but seems like he is, because he says stuff doesn't make sense. He says he's the only contactee and everybody else is full of shit except for him. And you know, they found other pictures, like he took a picture of Sansansi, the Palladian woman, and then they found that woman from an Italian game show in the 60s, and so they said that, you know, he stole that. And yeah, so I don't know about him. And oh, and then he said that, like, you know, big plant, like bugs grow out of plants. And there's a picture that somebody took of a bug and its feet standing inside of a plant, and like its feet were just about to become free, and then that's how it evolves. And that's not how evolution works. Okay, Whitley Strieber, he was abducted by the gray aliens. Whitley Strieber had like a radio show, and I heard him, and he said that, like, he thinks that the aliens started the war and the fire in Boulder, in Sugarloaf in the mountains there, because his friend had a house there, and that was kind of weird. But he made that movie, he wrote that book, turned into a movie called Communion, starring Christopher Walken. So he's like one of the first like gray alien people to come out. But he's good. Who's this guy? I don't know who he is. I don't know who these people are. I forgot to put their names on. But these are other contactees, and these are what different aliens look like. Supposedly, the Pleiadians from Atlantis, which was in here. And then different aliens, different races are from different planets, different aliens. And so I guess other aliens went out here off the coast of India. And that's what this guy says. But so maybe he's Zygmunt Adamski. I had the pictures aligned with the people's names before this weird thing happened. Magically happened that screwed it all up. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Okay, my computer has frozen, so let's see, hopefully it will come back to life. Oh, I clicked on the guy's picture and it took me to Flickr. That's what happened, dude. Okay, here we are. I just went to the other page, so let's go here. There's some lady, some dude, some lady, Wayne Suho. Contact career, Cedric Allington. See, there's lots of people. This guy, what's his name? He has the park up there, the field up there in Northern California, and I guess he can bring aliens down, like to fly around and show you the lights whenever he wants. So that's pretty cool. So let's see how many of them are. Olefo Orgiuki. Here's the information about him. Truman Bethroom, Albert Cole, yada yada yada, Daniel Fry, bling biddy bing biddy bing. I had their names lined up with them, but something happened with that. Whatever. Have to fix that some other time, I guess. Okay, so let's see here. Disclosure: scientific experiments proving God. Okay, so this is. You can prove that there's something else out there in the universe. You don't have to think that we're all alone out here. We have the double slit experiment, the non-locality experiment, robot and chicks, sending sickness via light, cymatics, Emoto's water experiment, the power of prayer, astrology, miracles, the salamander turning into a frog, levitation with sound, the 100th monkey effect, shapes in rotating water. So let's talk about some of these. Nikola Tesla, he was the guy who invented the radio. He just kind of figured out that there was this thing called radio waves, and then he built this thing. He knew how to build it, and I think he at one point in his life said that the aliens told him. He was an alien contactee and they told him. So I think that may be true. You know, I don't think we're that smart to just be able to envision stuff, you know. So anyways, Townsend Brown, I guess that's another scientist, but let's go down here and see. Emoto and holy water. Here's the pictures. So here's Mother Teresa, if you see Mother Teresa. Now some people might be like, well, Mother Teresa, how does the water know what Mother Teresa means? Well, you're emitting an emotion because you're connecting your mind with the group mind of what it means to be like somebody who helps people all the time, and then your brain gets into that, and then it sends the vibration through your voice. And then the water can tell, and it goes, oh, cool, Mother Teresa. So then it becomes very symmetrical and beautiful like this. Whereas if you say Adolf, oh no, Adolf Hitler, oh, hating Jews, and that comes through your voice, and the water can hear it, and then it's completely like disjumbled, and there's no coherency in it at all. It's insanity, like Adolf Hitler was insane. And then Tibetan Sutra, Om Mani Padme Hum, it makes a beautiful light crystal like this. Like, and they do this scientifically by you chant into the water and then you freeze it immediately, while the water still has that vibration of your voice in it, and then they look at the crystals. It's like some kind of freezer they have, which they should have in public schools. Okay, and then if you say you make me sick, well, it doesn't, and then you freeze it like this. The water is just like splattered apart and just incoherent and not connected, because hate and dislike and not liking somebody, there's no meaning to it, there's no connection to it, it's just disconnection, like you make me sick, I don't want to know you, we need to separate ourselves, and then so all these little dots are separating from each other, and it's not creating anything. Whereas if I say thank you, and it's like, oh, we are together, and look how beautiful that is, it's perfect, we are together, we connect. This, that's how crystals are connected. They're all carbon atoms placed together in a perfectly symmetrical order so that the energy can pass through it quickly, and that can hold, you know. Kind of like how if you're going to be able to find something filed away in your computer, you need to, and you be able to find everything, you need to have it all organized the same way so that you know where to go and where each one is from the organization of it. And so thank you is like, yes, thank you, I thank you, I acknowledge you helped me, you can ask me to help you later, and you work as a unit, and we understand each other, and it's all sensical and you know, understood. So, and the water can tell. The water can feel it from the vibration of your voice. And this is love. You say love. Ooh, and it's even more. It's a higher vibration. There's even more connections and angles and stuff in there. And then distilled water has a nice round halo around it. Folk dance, dun, 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 happy dance, makes that pretty thing. Beethoven's Pastoral, dun, 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 dun. I don't know which one Pastoral is, but look, that's pretty. A Tibetan Sutra, Om Bani Padme Hum. Here's the dam. So this is like stagnant water, and it's just got dammed up, and you know, probably some dead fish and stuff in there. It's just like nothing water, you know. But then Ilowat title photo. Here's from Ilowat, like blessed water from a Wat means like church. So you know that whole idea of blessed water, like the Roman popes do it, the Tibetans, lamas do it. There's something to be said for that, because it's scientifically proven that it crystallizes the water so beautifully like this. See, this is the water crystallized, but when the water was still alive, it had this vibration. The water was vibrating in this coherent, and then you drink the water that's vibrating in this coherent vibration, and the water goes right to where it into the body, and goes right in, and moves straightly right into the capillaries, and passes through where it needs to go. Whereas if it was like this, all jumbled, it would just be like, what, where? I'm not going to permeate any membranes. I'm just going to pass through the body and go out. You know, I'm not going to collect this toxin and carry it with me. I'm just going to bump into the toxin and move on, because we're disjointed. So, Ilowat Yodo River. So here's just a river that's not blessed. So Lourdes, France. I guess that's a holy place. Shimanto River. I guess that's a blessed river. Water Saijo, Japan. Ilowat, Antarctic. Title photo. Okay. So anyways, there's lots of those pictures with the moto. We should be able to do some of those experiments. Okay, so and then we have the let's see, mutations with light. Yeah, we have the double slit experiment, and that is, you can see the picture here and the little video here actually, where they it shows that light, you know, is light a wave or a particle. Well, light is whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you create the reality. You create physical reality by paying attention to it. And so in this double slit experiment, they had the gun shoot, you know, the photons one by one through the slit, and then they hit the other side just like you would think, because they had the little screen on the other side that would connect it. So then they hit the two photons through the two slits, and they would expect the balls to just go through both of the splits and hit the wall like in two lines, but it didn't act like that. It acted like as if it was water. It acted as if it was, well, yeah, see, with one slit it acts as whether it was a wave or a particle. It doesn't matter, because it acts the same way. It just goes through the slit and it goes in and it fills up the one line right there. But if you have two slits like that, and then you push the photons through, the photons actually act like waves, because the waves hit and then they hit each other, and then they connect and they multiply, and then it makes all these different lines. So that wasn't so complicated. That wasn't so difficult to imagine for the scientists, because they said, okay, well then it's trippy to think about, but you know, photon light is made out of waves. Oh my God, trippy. So then they go, okay, well let's just shoot the photons one at a time and see exactly you know, see what happens, because we know we can send the photons one at a time. So how does it act as a wave if you send them all together? Do they like come together? You know, when you send them all together, turn into a wave, but then they turn back into a particle, like it's either a wave or a particle? So they said, okay, well, let's send the photons one at a time through the double slit, you know, just like this. So they sent the particles one at a time through the double slit, just to think that it would have the same. But when they sent it one at a time, they acted as waves. They created the wave function again. And so they're saying, well, how could it create a wave function if they were all bumping into each other? I mean, how could they all bump into each other, you know, acting as a wave, like a timeless, they're all existing at the same time, bumping into each other, turning into potentialities when you're shooting through them one at a time. So then they said, well, we're going to have to actually record each one that goes through. We're going to have to take a picture of each one that goes through, and then we'll see like how it bumps into other ones. Like what's going to happen? Are we going to picture another one suddenly appear on the other side and then bump into itself? And you know, like, is it gonna split into two, and then are we gonna actually picture it split into two? Is it gonna be one before it hits the screen, goes through the double slit, and then maybe they should put like multiple pictures on it. Yeah, like, does it split into two and then go through the hole and then come back together? Like what? Does it mutate? Like, what does it do? We don't know. And so what we need to do is we need to send these things through and actually take a picture of it with our little camera there. Take a picture of every single photon that passes through the double slit. So let's look at this. Let's look at each one. Okay, shoot one through the double slit, and then shoot the other one through the other slit. Okay, we're looking at it, 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 we're looking at it. And look, there it goes, we see it. There it goes, it's not splitting into two, it's not. And there it goes, boom, okay, it went to the second slit. And oh yeah, and then it made two slits. It acted as though it was a particle. Because obviously you watch it and it goes through. So basically, having that camera there, the little photon said, oh look, a camera's looking at me. Okay, well I guess I'm busted now. I have to be predictable. So you basically change what the screen shows, whether or not the camera is turned on. The screen and the camera are communicating with each other. Because what we're doing is we're creating a reality. We're creating one particular parallel universe by watching that one photon go by. And if you're not paying attention to it, it's just a potentiality. So that's how like interconnected and intertwined we are physically with the spirit world. We're like physically intertwined with them. So anyways, that's a double slit experiment, and nobody can explain it. I was talking to some dude and was like, oh no, it's explained. No, it's not explained. And if it's explained, why don't you explain it to it? Oh, it's explained because the camera did it. It's like, what? The camera did what? He's just talking out of his ass, and he ended up giving up on me. This is from my Where Buddhism Went Wrong video. Some atheists. So anyways, DNA is actually also a waveform that is affected by energy. It's like either a wave or a particle because it's really small. This is a oh man, I can't remember how many this is across. It's like a couple of microns or something like that. But this thing here is a buckyball. This is a carbon. This is 60 carbon atoms connected into a Buckminster dome, into a dome. I don't know how they did it, but this is how big it is. So each one of these little dots is an actual atom. It's a carbon atom, and this is how big it is. And it's almost as big, maybe half as big around as the diameter of a DNA strand. And so the thing is that the double slit experiment, which we just did here, works with the buckyball. You don't have to just shoot photons through. You can shoot buckyballs through, and then the buckyballs turn into wave potentiality forms. Buckyballs basically go into a higher dimension. They go into the spirit world, bumping and turn into this big spider web of potentiality communicating with itself. They basically go into the spirit world where there's no time, where the one buckyball turned into an infinite amount of buckyballs all bumping into each other, because there's no time. You know, it's like if you have an infinite amount of time to send buckyballs through, then you have an infinite amount of buckyballs bumping into each other. So time disappeared for the buckyball. It went into the spirit world. And the buckyball is as big as the DNA. So the DNA can be affected by the spirit world, and our brains can connect to the DNA. So that's how we physically are able to manipulate our DNA. And it's like our DNA is a physical, spiritual force. The double helix. And you know, each cell can go around the world. The DNA strand in each cell of our body can go around the world like 3 times. And the DNA in your body can go around like to the moon and back 3 times. So there's a whole lot of information in there to be reprogrammed for ourselves. Here's an illustration of the double slit experiment. And 911 magnetic graph. This is also another interesting experiment in that they have these little magnetic graphs that just detect like magnetic odds, Aglins chart. I don't know exactly how it works. I haven't really looked into it, but it's just this chart that just tests certain magnetic Earth magnetic field, kind of for like the geologists. But they noticed that on September 11th it spiked. So that because all these people were thinking about the same thing at the same time with a great deal of emotions, their brains were actually affecting the Earth's magnetic grid, and they brought it from the average of less than 100, of like 60, all the way up to past 1,000, to like 1,000 to 10,000 to like 3,000. It went up like 3 times. And it was actually, here's the chart. It got recorded. So it shows that our brains are connected to the physical world, and you know, natural catastrophes. Back in the olden days, people would think, oh, natural catastrophes. We got you know, the Black Death from our sins, and you know, we got this. The Romans were being evil, and they got the Mount Vesuvius blew because of their sins, and the reality is that they were right the whole time. We were always right. We just become wrong when we only believe in one thing. The ancient Greeks were right when they said that everything is created out of a different shape, and it's all these coherent shapes connected to each other, and that's what the universe is created out of. Well, it turns out that that's true in the higher dimensions. The central iron core of the Earth is a perfect icosahedron or dodecahedron in the spirit world, energy vibration, and then it just gets translated into a solid shape in this world. So the Greeks were right all along. So we're kind of coming in full circle and realizing that everybody's right in their own little way. It's just to what degree are we going to believe in everybody. And you can also levitate things with sound. So it's like that can explain how the aliens made the pyramids and all those other megalithic sites in the world. They just hit it with a vibration with their special like vibration stick, and they levitated it. You see these little guys vibrating and levitating around just from the sound. Let's see what it sounds like. Yeah. And then a different vibration, a different sound, can bring it at a different height. And I think somebody even witnessed, he went to Tibet. You see how they went at and then they went lower? These guys were even chanting, and they were letting these stones grow up just from their chants. Maybe if you all chant the same chant, you know what chant to chant, and it all coming out of your voice, you can actually levitate something. But you see how that little guy is revolving around the one on top, and it's spinning them around. Well, that's what's holding our universe. That's what's holding our universe together. Our moon is spinning around our Earth from the vibration, the sound vibration coming out of the sun, and the sun is spinning around, you know, Sirius from the sound vibration coming out of the black hole at the center of the universe. And you see, they just give a different sound, and it spins around a different way. So so not only are there radio waves that exist, and mind waves and psychic waves, but there's also waves that all the way up in higher dimensions, and higher dimensions on top of that, and higher dimensions on top of that, and it's all connected, and it's all conscious of itself. And that's what God is. So anyways, so yeah, the levitation with sound. See if there's another one. Yeah, they're just letting that guy. So if you can do it with the sound vibration that our ears don't hear, well, that's levitation. Magic to us, but it's just high science, and that's how they made the pyramids. So, and also shapes and rotating water. It's like cymatics with water. Kind of can explain that there's how everything's connected from the sound of the universe. So the phantom DNA. Here's the non-locality experiment graph. If you take somebody's blood and then you make them happy, and you have their blood 3,000 miles away, well, the blood is going to show happy feelings. It's going to unravel. The DNA is going to unravel and open up and become open to a new mutation or a new possibility, or getting in new information from the cosmos. And your DNA, your blood, is going to unravel from 3,000 miles away, because it's the same DNA, and our DNA is very, very complex, and that is how it, and it's living in a higher dimension. Just like when you talk to somebody on a cell phone, the cell phones are talking to each other, anchored in a higher dimension than the radio dimensions, and our DNA works the same way. If we can believe that cell phones exist, we can believe that our DNA can communicate with each other from many miles away, and if we can believe that, we can believe somebody with similar DNA can psychically communicate with each other, and we can believe that. We can believe somebody with spiritual DNA can communicate psychically with each other, and that's how telepathy works. So, phantom DNA. Here's the physical DNA SSC solution, serial configuration channel number. Well, I guess I can't describe that, so I guess I'll have to come back to that some other time. But here's just a picture of the experiment. Yeah. So and that's that. So scientific experiments proving God. So I think I didn't include all these other ones though. We did cymatics, water emoto. We did, let's see, introduction, double slit, non-locality. Non-locality is the DNA. Robot and chicks. This is an interesting one. This one scientist, I heard this from David Wilcock's presentation, and I think he even showed the thing, the report of it. But apparently, if you have a bunch of, there's like this robot that is told where to walk just based on a random number generator. So randomly it's told to go in this direction, in that direction, and they got a bunch of like little chickens to sing on the other side of the robot, and these little chickens were imprinted on the robot, because they put the chickens inside the robot and had the robot like sing to them and stuff, and then they separated the chickens, so the chickens thought the robot was their mother, so then they were all singing to the robot, and they made the robot move to them. They influenced the random number generator of the robot to come move to them. So it's kind of like that movie Terminator. If you make you can make robots alive. So kind of makes you think, like the gray aliens that are genetically modified, kind of like cyborg people. Like, how alive are they? They're kind of like quasi-alive. Maybe kind of like an animal is like an ignorant alive being, but so maybe even in a certain way, the robot was even an ignorant alive being, kind of like a life form, and it could respond to that way. So anyways, yeah, that's the connection between the physical world and the higher world. Sending sickness via light. Well, sickness is like a vibration that can be created. You know how it's cymatics, you can create stuff out of thin air, and viruses are very small. So maybe you can create a virus out of thin air. Well, this guy supposedly did. He sent, he got a petri dish, and he had 2 different petri dishes on top of each other. that were close to each other, but they were hermetically sealed from each other. And then one of the petri dishes had a virus, had like the AIDS virus or something, and then the one below it was a healthy one. And so she shined a light with a certain vibration, a really high, like, vibration through the sick DNA, the sick cell, and then down through the healthy cell. And the healthy cell caught the sickness of the sick cell. So the vibration light somehow picked up the signature of the virus and teleported the virus and deposited it into the cell of the petri dish below. So yeah, you can teleport. And Michio Kaku said that they actually teleported an atom or a molecule, an electron or something, and they took a picture of it. So teleportation, if you can teleport somebody's sound and somebody's voice and emotions, then you can teleport things. And actually the aliens, the Arcturian aliens, say that they can teleport stuff. And not just teleport, but actually create stuff out of thin air. Kind of like in Star Wars. Star Wars writers were, get these ideas out of the zeitgeist, the higher dimensionals world that actually exists in the future. And so that stuff actually does exist from Star Wars, where people push the buttons and then you get like your soup. It just gets created out of mid-air. All you need is the raw materials, and then it just creates the signature. And so when a Arcturian dies, they sit in the laser beam and they evaporate the person's body, but they keep the signature. So in case you ever want to see the body again, or the person again, or anything, you just type in the code, you tell what you want, and the little thing creates it out of thin air. So that stuff is real, and the proof of that is how one idea proof of it is that you can send signals through light into another petri dish. So, and also that's the idea of maybe how the duckbill platypus was created. Like maybe there was a lightning bolt that zapped a duck and another marsupial at the same time, and then it created the duckbill platypus. Like it changed the DNA within the womb of a pregnant duck, and it got some of the DNA from the animal next to it, transferred into it. Out came this new animal, which then breeded with each other and created a new species. And that's also how evolution can happen. And that's actually what's happening now, is because we're on a new part of the universe, a special high energized part of the galaxy, the photon belt from the spinning black hole in the center of the galaxy, spinning out all of this energy, mutated everything, is mutating us and our DNA and creating us and creating new DNA for us, unraveling our DNA and popping in 10 more strands or a couple more strands or something like that into our bodies and turning us into a more wiser, more physically fit, live longer, healthier being, because we're ready for it, and our souls are ready for it, and our bodies are ready for it, to not have to die and to live, 1,000 years, or I don't know, at least get to the next level, and not use just 15% of our brains. So that's the little sending signals via light. And then we did cymatics, a water emoto prayer, power of prayer. Well, you can see they actually did experiments with the power of prayer, like weather experiments, people holding hands across planet countries and stuff, like how they did in Lithuania when they wanted to be free from the Russians, and then in '87, Jose Arguelles organized the harmonic convergence, where everybody prayed at the same time. And they do, and supposedly you can get detectors to detect that. And also, Richard Hoagland said he felt the prayer that Art Bell asked all of his millions of listeners to give to him back in '87 when he had his heart attack. He could feel the positive vibrations of the prayer. So getting together and praying for people and praying for somebody and praying to have good weather and all, and just praying for love and stuff actually works, as shown by how our minds are connected to the higher worlds, and also the graphs of 9/11 and stuff. So then astrology, miracles, well, yeah, miracles happen. I've had miracles happen that make me believe. One of the things that made me believe, my teeth came together, my gaping teeth came together, and then 3 days later, this huge crack that went all the way across my windshield and stopped only 4 inches from the edge suddenly disappeared. So yeah, levitation with sound, we did that. 100th monkey is an interesting thing. There's this one thing in Japan. there's like these 2 islands that have monkeys living on them. And one island, they taught the monkey how to break their coconut thing with a rock. So then he taught the other monkey, and then pretty soon all the monkeys in that island could do it. And then they realized that the next island over, even though monkeys don't swim, the other monkeys started doing it. Like they were in their dreams, they were connecting with each other psychically. And so then the monkey had the dream, and he did it. At least that's one version of it. And so yeah, I believe that once like 95% of the people in the world believe that the aliens are here, all the other people are just going to believe it too, because it's inside of the zeitgeist, it's inside of the internet of our minds, and they just get programs to do that. Because we're like frogs, you know, we're like connect, you know, if you change, or birds, if you change the electromagnetic signature of where the North Pole or South Pole is, all the birds are not going to know which way north is, and they're all going to go the wrong direction or whatever. Or all the dolphins and fish are going to wash up on the sea because you changed all of the you know, the grids, because they're all connected to the higher dimension. Well, we are too in our minds. And that's how you can, you know, brainwash people with TV. And so anyways, once we all believe something, all the other people are just going to believe it too. So, scientific experiments proving God. And I think that's the end of my aliens pages.